very good morning. Today we will continue our class, science class, by discussing subtopic 1.2, still in 1.2, stimuli and responses in human. And we continue to the third, fourth, and fifth sensory organ that we have named before. As you know, that there are 5 sensory organs that I have told you before. There are eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and skin. So today we will finish to discuss the structure of third, fourth, and fifth sensory organ. That is nose, tongue, and skin. And also, if we have enough time, we will discuss the mechanism of hearing and mechanism of sighting. So now we proceed to the third sensory organ. Okay, third sensory organ. Okay. So now, nose. What are the parts of the nose? So please study the figure 1.11 based on the textbook's content. So now, first of all, what you have to know is that nose consists of two holes, and we name it as a nostril. And from this nostril, air will enter into the cavity. This is the space inside the nose, and we call it as a nasal cavity. And then from here, the air will enter through the nasal cavity and then go into the lung. So this is how air enter into our lung. So the structure of this nose at the upper parts of nasal cavity here, this is the upper part, consists of what we call as a sensory cells for smell. So these sensory cells exactly contains about 10 million sensory cells. 10 million sensory cells. Inside these sensory cells contains smell receptors. So what is the smell receptors? So these smell receptors will detect and receive the information about the smells inside the air that enter into the nasal cavity. So in the air contains smell, that exactly a chemical substance. That is a chemical substance, and this chemical substance will be detected by this receptor at the sensory cells. Okay, so this is the enlargement picture of what is the structure and the function of these sensory cells for smell. So you can see from here, so this one, the brown color, this is the sensory cells for smell, and at the position here is the location for sensory cell. Sorry, for position for the smell receptors. Okay, so this smell receptor exactly is immersed or covered by a liquid we call as a mucus. So this mucus exactly will trap the smell, and then that smell will be detected by the receptor, and then it will produce impulse, and this impulse will be sent through the nerve at the end of the sensory cells to the brain. Yeah? So this is the position of the nerve, and then this nerve in the form of impulses, nerve impulses, will be sent to the brain, and brain as usual will interpret the information in impulses and will tell us about what is the type of smell that we detected. So that is the structure and the function for the nose. Yeah? Okay. So this is the text given in the textbook. So I have told you about this one. So the important thing is sensory cells for smell are tiny and covered with a layer of mucus, and the chemical substance in the air will dissolve in this layer of mucus and stimulate the cells to produce nerve impulses, and then these nerve impulses will be sent to brain to be interpreted to determine the type of smell. So that is the structure of the nose and its function. Okay, next we go to the fourth sensory organ, that is tongue. So what is the part and the structure of the tongue? So if we put our tongue like this, so we can see from here a tiny pole, and this tiny and maybe a small hole, we call it as a papillae. Yeah? This papillae on the tongue, the structure is like this, as shown in this diagram. And then on the surface of this papillae that have been colored yellow and small circle here. Yeah? So every yellow circle here is exactly, we call it as a taste bud. Yeah? Okay, so every small circle that colored yellow here that covered the surface of the papillae is called taste bud. Yeah? So this is a taste bud. Okay. So inside the taste bud is enlarged here. Okay, consists of tiny pore, and then inside the tiny pore we will have what we call as a taste receptor, and this taste receptor will be supported by supporting cell. So this red color support the yellow color, so this yellow color is a taste receptor. And then what you have to know that inside one taste bud consists of around 10 to 50 taste receptors. Yeah? So means in one taste bud consists of around 10 to 50 taste receptor. So how this tongue function to detect a taste? So the tongue, when we eat any food or drink any drink, so all the chemical substance inside the food will be dissolved in the uh, we will dissolve in the what we call as dissolve in the tiny pore of this taste bud, and then the taste receptor will detect the chemical substance and it will produce impulse and will be sent to the brain through the nerve to the brain. Yeah. So at the end of this taste receptor will have a nerve, and this nerve will send impulses, nerve impulses, to brain to be interpreted what is the type of taste. Yeah? And then we have exactly 5 types of taste that are sweet, salty, sour, bitter, and umami. Yeah? So we have 5 types of basic taste that you have to know, and then so all these tastes will be detected by the taste receptor inside the taste bud. Yeah? Okay. So exactly the chemical substance inside the food will dissolve in the saliva. So the dissolve of this chemical substance in the saliva, and then it will diffuse into the taste bud through the tiny pore. Yeah? Okay, so that is the structure of the tongue, and then exactly at surface of our tongue we have a different position of the different taste receptor that will detect different 5 types of basic taste. So we will look into that position in the next class. Okay, the last sensory organ that we will discuss today is skin. Okay, so what you have to know that skin have 3 layers. Yeah, 3 layers. Yeah. Okay, so the first layers we call it as a epidermis. Epidermis. Yeah. And this is the outer layer. The second is dermis, and exactly the third layer is fat layer. Okay. Okay, so inside the first and second layer, okay, before that, also we have to know that the structure of skin will consist of hair, oil gland here that produce oil, and then we have the most important part is a receptor. Yeah? So there are 5 types of receptor found in the skin. So what are the 5 types of receptor? So the first one is, the first receptor that we must know is pain receptor. So this is the first receptor. Why? Because the position of pain receptor at is at the epidermis, the one and only receptor that the position or the location is at the epidermis is pain receptor. So you can see pain receptor is very close to the outer part of our skin. Eh? Okay, and then the other 4 receptor is inside the dermis. Eh? So in dermis we have the first one is cold receptor that detect cold stimuli. Second is heat receptor that will detect heat stimuli. And then touch receptor that will detect touch stimuli. So this is the structure of touch, structure of cold receptor, and structure of heat receptor. And then at the lower part of the dermis, we have pressure receptor. So it will detect pressure that hit to the to the skin. Yeah. So here is the position and location of the 5 receptor that you must know. Okay, so for the fat layer, so this is a fat layer. Yeah. So if you can see the structure of the receptor, so this receptor, so they will connected to the nerve itself. So when these receptors detect any stimuli, so they will produce uh, impulses and will be sent to the brain to be interpreted. Yeah. So this is how skin function as the function as to detect the touch. Yeah. Okay. To detect the 5 different touch, yeah, to the skin. Yeah. Okay. So that is about the structure of sensory organ. Now we proceed to discuss about how is the mechanism of hearing, how we hear sound from outside. So how our ear that function as the sensory organ can detect sound from outside. So based on the structure that we have discussed of ears, so every part of the ears have their own function, and this is how the mechanism of hearing. So the first one, when there is a sound produced, so our ears through earlobe will detect, receive, and after that gathers sound wave. Yeah? So this sound wave will be channeled through the ear canal. Yeah? Will be channeled to the ear canal, and then that sound wave will hit eardrum. So this is eardrum. Okay, so at the eardrum, the vibration received, okay, the sound wave received by the eardrum will be vibrate will be vibrated by eardrum, and then it will transfer the vibration to the bones, 3 types of bone that form ossicles. Yeah? So the vibration are amplified by the ossicles and then sent to the cochlea through the oval window. So after ossicle receive a vibration, it will amplify, increase the frequency of the sound wave, and then it will send the amplified sound wave to the cochlea through the oval window. So the part or the location of our oval window is between the ossicles and cochlea. And then at the cochlea, it will change to nerve impulses by the nerve cell inside the cochlea. So when cochlea that consists of nerve cell receive the amplified sound wave from the ossicles through the oval window, it will change the information in the form of nerve impulses. And then these nerve impulses will be carried out by auditory nerve. So from here, at the end of the cochlea consists of auditory nerve. So this auditory nerve will send nerve impulses to the brain to be interpreted. Yeah, to be interpreted. So the brain will tell us about what is the type of sound that we have received. Yeah. So this is the way on how we can hear sound from outside our ear. So this is the mechanism of hearing. So you have to remember the flow of how hearing process occur. Okay, next we look into the mechanism of sight. So we have discussed about the structure of the eyes as a sensory organ for sight. So now we will look into how the process of sighting to the any object that eyes look. Yeah, so based on the discussion here in the diagram, so this is the object given example. So any object will have their own light rays. So this light rays will going through into the eyes, and then it will reach cornea, aqueous humor, pupil, and eye lens. So at the eye lens, it will be focused into the retina through the vitreous humor. Yeah. So this is the vitreous humor. So the image that form on the surface of retina will be different as to compare to the real object. So the object will appear smaller and inverted. Yeah, smaller and inverted, different to the real object. So this is the characteristic of this image formed on the retina. So after that, as we know that inside the retina we have photoreceptor. Okay, we have photoreceptor. You must remember that. So this photoreceptor that consists rod cells and cone cells will detect the quantity of light and also the colors of light, and then it will produce a nerve impulses and will be sent through the optic nerve to the brain. So when the brain receive nerve impulses through optic nerve, it will, as usual, will interpret the info inside the nerve impulses, and then the brain will tell us what is the type of object that we have seen. Yeah? And then in the brain, the object that we see, the image that have been received by the brain will be see as real object, means that the image formed inside our brain will be in the form of as same as the object, means even though the image formed on the retina is smaller and inverted, but inside the brain will interpret and change the position to the real position. Yeah, means that it will become like this, compared to the image formed on the retina. So the smaller inverted image on the retina will then appear upright. So that is the mechanism of sight on how we can see object through our eyes. So I hope that you can try to understand and remember the function for every structure that made up the eye and also ears. So I hope we will continue our lesson in the next class, and I hope that you can do your notes in your notes book and try to answer the question given in the activity books. Please answer all the question in the activity books. Start from the beginning page at the front page until to this subtopic, mechanism of sight. So that's all. That's all for today. Thank you very much.